So let's talk about the Atari VCS and whether or not it will succeed or fail, and kind of go over the history a little bit and then hit you up with what I think about it. Now, I will say I have covered this on the channel, but that was way 6, 8, 10, 12 months ago. And so I want to let you guys know kind of where we're at with it and see where we're going with it and if it's worth it or not. So we'll start off with talking about how it launched and go all the way to present day and a little bit into the future. So we will talk about the start now, and that is where it started, 2017. It was announced, hey, Atari is making a new console. It is called the AtariBox, or at least that's what it was codenamed. And then we were given a little demo of what it looked like. The design was cool. It basically took a 2600 and made it more modern. It looks really cool. It looks like the old console, but it wasn't the same thing under the hood, and it was slightly smaller. And we also would get a Pro controller type thing, and then just the normal joystick and button. So that was cool. It looked like it was a cool design, and honestly, I was kind of open-minded at this point. And you'll understand why I say that later on. But right then, I was like, okay, this could be cool. If we get a kind of like an NES classic, I'll be cool with it. Well, no, they announced, well, we're going to compete with Xbox and PlayStation, which was the first red flag I saw. But we'll continue on and act like that is normal. Next, they said they were going to launch a IndieGoGo campaign and talk about how they were going to roll it out and how we would get it and how it would be crowdfunded and all that, which that was first shady because it was IndieGoGo and not Kickstarter. With Kickstarter, you have to have at least a prototype, something to prove that, hey, what we're doing is real and we're gonna prove it here with this prototype. Well, they went with IndieGoGo, which doesn't need any of that. Also, with IndieGoGo, the creator of the fund gets the money. With Kickstarter, you have to deliver that product in order to get the money. You have to have something. You have to give a service or give an item or a material, something like that, to say, yes, here's what we're giving to the customer, and then the customer will pay at that point. Well, that is not IndieGoGo. IndieGoGo is, at the end of the campaign, if you reach your goal, you get the money. And honestly, that's a scary, shady thing. But we haven't even gotten to the IndieGoGo, really. So the first time it was announced, they got up to the day before the IndieGoGo was announced, and then they canceled it. And everyone was like, what is happening with the AtariBox? No one knows what it was. There was just rumblings, nothing set in stone. Well, they came out a few months later saying, hey, we're sorry we had to do that. We had blah, blah, blah. They talked some political jargon, attorney jargon, that didn't really clear up anything. It just made things kind of worse. And so then we go on to them saying, hey, we're actually having a Kickstarter. Wait, that's not what they said. They went back to IndieGoGo. I made that as a joke because Kickstarter would be where you would go if you were legitimately doing a product that would work and that you could sell to the masses. So they went back to IndieGoGo and said, hey, we're actually doing it this time. Atari's doing great. We're doing great. And then they hit it, and honestly, I am not surprised that they did so well. They made like upwards of $3 million on a product that hasn't even been seen working. Now, there was a kind of demo unit that was shown playing on a video, but come to find out it wasn't even legitimate, which is another thing that's shady about the whole deal, and which scared me away. Honestly, totally, I was like on the fence at this point, but after that I was just gone. I'm like, no, this thing is not for me. Well, they announced that they were going to have it ship this spring, and honestly, it's almost March, and we haven't heard anything about it. We haven't heard anything good, and it just doesn't look good for people. Not only that, this thing is $299 or more in order to get one from IndieGoGo, which means once that happens, it's gonna probably be at least $299 whenever they decide to go to the masses after IndieGoGo. So I'm sitting here thinking, okay, so you got 3 million, 3.5, you got a ton of money, but what do you do with it? Do you promote it? No, not really. We haven't heard anything. But they talk about the games. So you're like, okay, it's a console, cool. What games are on it? I don't care if it's Xbox, Nintendo, PlayStation, PC. If it doesn't have games, it won't sell no matter what. Just look at the Wii U. Didn't have many games. It didn't have good marketing. Don't get me wrong, I love the Wii U, but that is something we failed at and Nintendo failed at, and that's why it was a flop and they didn't do well. But here's where we're at. They're talking about games for this thing. I haven't heard any good games about it. Nothing. There was a Tempest game that they talked about. It's coming, but it wasn't anything new. It's one game. It was a Tempest game. Yeah, Tempest is cool, but after a while it gets old. It's just the same thing. Don't hate on me for that. I enjoy Tempest. I'm just saying it's not a console seller. It's not a Mario game. It's not a Halo. It's not a good game that people and the masses are gonna say, I'll go out and buy that. So that's one thing that really worried me about it, because honestly, they talked about games, but nothing ever came of it. And I could see that being a big deal and could potentially not be good for them. Well, it keeps going. So, like I said, it was a lot of money, $3 million or more. It was more, I just don't remember the exact number, but I do know that they have said we're shipping in the spring of 2019. Well, I'm still sitting here, and now I know it's towards the end of February, so it's not the end of spring yet, or even the beginning of summer, but I haven't heard any news about this, which is kind of worrisome, because we haven't heard anything since the IndieGoGo ended, and it did well, honestly. It doesn't surprise me. It got people who played the 2600 interested in it. I have a 2600. I have 50 to 100 games for it. I actually enjoy playing the 2600. If I can pick up a game for less than $2 that I don't have, I'll pick it up just to try it out and have fun with it. But $299 for a console that doesn't have anything, I'm gonna pass, because if I wanted to, right now, I could go online or go locally and pick up an Ouya for $50 or less. Or maybe $80 or less, depending on what time it is and how many are up there. But that's what this seems like. It's a Linux-based system that has some A&D stuff inside of it, but there's nothing good for it. It doesn't have any games that make it worth buying, and that is one thing that I am fearful that all these people, and I know I'm gonna get hate for this, for saying this, but I'm sorry for all those people that spent $300 or more to get this. Now, let me say, it did have some cool designs. The design looked cool, especially that black one reminded me of the Vader that I have, that I actually play regularly. But I do not think it is worth the money. I'm sorry if you bought one. I do not think it's worth the money, and I think that you should probably try to get your monies back if you can. I don't know if you can, but I don't think it's going to be worth it for that. So with that being said, that is my opinion and kind of the history. I know I left some things out, but honestly, it could go either way at this point. There's no news, and no news is good news or no news is bad news. So I'm just going to sit back and wait to see what happens. But I am thinking, actually, I know that this thing is gonna fail. It may sell a bunch because they sold a bunch for the IndieGoGo, but I don't think it's gonna be worth it. I think it's gonna be an Ouya, and people are just gonna not want to deal with it, and they're gonna wash their hands of it. So with that being said, if you will, please comment down below. I don't care if you hate my opinion or if you love my opinion. Tell me what you think. I want to know what you think about the Atari VCS. With that being said, don't forget about Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Big Cartel, Patreon, Amazon. All that stuff is down below in the description. Since you've watched it this far, I want to say thank you so much. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, join, and make sure you hit that bell notification because it lets you know when I post more videos. With that being said, make sure you have a good day.